So, welcome. It is the 29th of August 2024, and we are on UX research call number 40. It is Ferrero and myself here today. Maybe other people will join, maybe it'll just be the two of us. But the goal of this call is to keep on iterating on the UX Research Toolkit. And Ferrero has made some suggestions to the rapid prototyping section in the UX Research Toolkit. So I think we'll focus this call mostly talking about that. But just to show you here, I did a quick update recently on the toolkit here. Sorry, Ferrero, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Well, I'm Ferreiro. That's actually my last name. My name is Lautaro. I'm from Argentina. I'm a product designer. I've been doing this for, I think, uh, for 8 years. Um, I've been around and poking around the Bitcoin design community for a year, I think, in the shadows, looking at what your guys been doing. I think it was in June that I provided some feedback regarding the rapid prototyping section of the research toolkit.
Yeah.
And 2 months later, here we are discussing it.
Amazing. Thank you for poking at the toolkit because the toolkit's now been live and living for, I think, around 2 years now. We built it collaboratively together in public about 2 years ago, 1.5, 2 years ago. It was built by a group of people. And at the moment, most of the iterations of the toolkit are being done by myself. And it's so nice to have someone involved in the process who's interested in improving the toolkit because we've used it with a lot of projects so far. But we haven't had like eyes on the content itself wanting to improve the content.
Cool.
This is what it looks like at the moment. I copied Christoph a little bit because I loved the stuff he did. He put these fun images which he AI generated. So I headed over to Midjourney and I updated all of the images, which is just super fun. The previous start page looked like this. I haven't updated this one yet, but this just feels a little bit more clinical. Um,
Yeah.
and I know that a lot of people could view research as being clinical. So I just remove that clinical feel by making it a little bit playful with these images.
Cool.
So this is what we have now. And this section,
This,
sorry,
yeah, this I think this is a great moment to introduce one of the questions that I had
tell me.
because you now the landing page or this homepage has this start with a question idea, which I think it's very interesting
Hmm.
because someone that is not very, I don't know, that is not used to working with design stuff, let's say, maybe a good start for that person to start with a question. I think that's great. But I was wondering, how have you tested this site with developers or builders
No.
to gather? Yeah, I think that could be a good idea, don't you think? Like,
Yeah.
hey, do you find it usable? What would you improve, etc., etc.? I don't know. That's something that we could
I think that's
do.
definitely something that needs to be done. We've sent the link over, for some written feedback via email. We have
Yeah.
some feedback which we got from a few people, but we haven't actually. We basically built the kit, and then since then I've been using the toolkit with various projects. But we haven't really this live version now that's been iterated on a few times. We haven't put it in front of developers, specifically developers. We've not put it in front of developers. We have put it in front of one or two UX designers, but not really anyone who's like outside of the Bitcoin design community. It's been more just people who we know very closely. So I think it's a good idea. The audience for this toolkit, when I started off in this ecosystem like 2 or 3 years ago, there was very little research being done. Actually, there was no research being done on in building Bitcoin applications, and so we built this toolkit for the audience in mind, saying like the audience is a builder who has no experience with research. They don't know what methodology to use. They're going in completely blind. So that's how we started off with this question methodology. And then later on, someone who is an experienced UX designer said, hey, but hey, I don't want to look at the questions. I know the methodology I'm looking for. So that's when we created the resource page. So we keep on iterating on the kit based on feedback from the community and what people are saying. Um, so yeah, that's
Yeah,
what.
yeah. My question was mostly because the site is clear to me, but I was wondering if someone that is building their first, I don't know, Bitcoin wallet, whatever, and faces this site, and I was wondering if that person can actually, or if they feel encouraged enough to start doing user testing, for example, because
Exactly.
it is something that is very common to us. We have done that several times, but I was wondering, someone that haven't done user testing in the past, do they feel encouraged to do it? Do we provide enough confidence? I don't know. Those are open questions that come up to my mind, but
That's a good
um,
one. We could, I think we should definitely, I really like your idea of putting in front of some developers. I also want to show you this as well. So I'm actually documenting. Hi, Mariano. Thank you very much for joining the call.
Mariano, I don't
Hello.
a colleague of mine on the agency that I work in, he was interested in shining and see and taking part of open design.
Amazing. Thank you so much
So
for
what?
joining. Do you want to do a quick introduction because we're not familiar with each other?
Oh, yeah, 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 sure. So I work in an agency, as Lucky was saying. Yeah, and like I've been working in design for I don't know more than 10 years, and
Wow.
I'm very much interested in UX research particularly. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, I'm gonna join and see what's going on.
Amazing. I love it. I love it that there's two people here who are interested in research just like me. Thank you so much. It is a very underestimated part in the UX design process. It is completely underestimated, the power of research.
Yeah, yeah. Or even like underinvested, I would say.
Yes, definitely, definitely. So I was giving Ferrero, an introduction to the UX Research Toolkit. He is already familiar with it. Are you also familiar with it as well?
Was what? Sorry, the toolkit? No, no, no. I this is the very first time I'm looking at this.
Cool. So I'll give a very quick introduction. So
Yeah.
when I entered into the Bitcoin space about 3 years ago, there was very little research being done in the product development process. And so we came up with this idea of building this toolkit, a toolkit specifically for Bitcoin products. And how can we, create this? You could call it almost like a recipe book that a builder could just use to build their Bitcoin products. The focus of the toolkit is someone who's never ever used research before. So that's the reasoning behind this question approach. It's they don't actually know the methodology they want to use. They asking themselves questions as a team. We're about to launch. What do we do? Are we building the right thing? How do we set up a long-term research process? And then when they click in to the question on their mind, they come up with possible solutions. And then when they look at the solutions, they would have the design sprint or rather prototyping. They then click into that, and then they have the recipe book. So this toolkit at the moment is being used primarily by myself on projects within the Bitcoin design community where I'm facilitating running research sprints, and then we're using the toolkit to run the sprint. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And then we also added in this resource page here, and this is for the more experienced, UX designer like you, like yourselves, who knows the methodology that they want to use, and they're just like, I don't want the long story. I know what I want to use. Here it is, and then they just click on it, and then they just go into it. Um, it is quite text heavy. We try to add in some images, but I would love a fresh set of eyes on this, iterating on it and making it better. Um, yeah. So that's basically it in a nutshell. It was built in public 2 years ago, completely in public. You can see all of our videos on YouTube, and it was built by a group of like just like us sitting on this call right now. So yeah,
That's cool.
we were talking about the rapid prototyping section. Now Ferrero actually, that would be this section here. Now, this is this live page actually on the website, which is basically rapid prototyping. But before we go into that, I'd actually just like some input from you both in terms of you're both experienced UX designers. You see this as a toolkit now, right? Um, my guess is the likelihood is you're not going to go to this first page because you already know the methodology you want to use. So you'd probably just go to resources. What are your initial sort of feelings, intuitions about future iterations for this kit when you look at it? Like, what's your feelings? What's coming to mind? Like Ferrero just suggested, hey, it would be good to put in front of some developers, which we've never done.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the most important one. I think it's very valuable to also have these resources and maybe focus more on designers. Maybe that's a decision that we need to tackle. Are we aiming this to builders, designers, both? In this case, we're doing it for both, which I think is it's fair enough. I would say. Um, for from my point of view, it's very clear. And as you say, sometimes I felt like it's quite text heavy, but I don't know if that's something that we can manage to shorten. But that's the only negative point I would say. I'm wondering if someone that is looking for help in this toolkit look at all this content that some pages have and say, "Oh gosh, I'm never going to do this." That's my own concern, I would say.
Yeah, it's just too much. They just want to run with it, right? And that's why I think I've been a lot in this role of facilitating. I've needed to facilitate the research because otherwise it's just, it's not being done. Anything from you, Marino, that comes to mind, Mariano?
Yeah, one thing that I struggle with, not too much, just a little bit,
Yeah.
but when I was looking at this and I didn't find the particular resources until I like dig deeper and like went up and down a couple of times and then went to the resources section and then found it. So I feel that there might be some value in adding at least, I don't know, two or three or four resources tabs or tiles to the homepage,
Okay.
like another section, like apart from the questions. You currently have the questions, right?
Yeah.
So in the homepage you have the questions, but the not the resources linked there, other than on the header. So I
Hmm.
feel there could be some value in adding some of these on the homepage as well, so that you can dig deeper to whatever you want. If you want resources, or if you want the questions and get them answered. Um, I don't know if you're familiar with the IDEO design kit. They have this something similar to this. Are you familiar with it?
No.
Okay, the IDEO design kit, they have something similar to this. I'm just posting this in the chat. And they actually, so I just posted the direct link to the methods. But if you go to the homepage, they have like these mindset versus methods versus case studies. And uh, within the three tabs, you can navigate back and forth. And in the methods part, they have all these explanations of the different methodologies, except in your case, I feel the UX research toolkit is better because you start with questions, right? And
Right.
then you give out the methods. So I think it's better. But here, like, it's very clear to access all these. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe it could be interesting to have it outlined a little bit better on the homepage.
So here on the homepage, they've got highlights, then they've got methods. Right.
Yeah, Yeah, they
Let
have
me,
like an overview of everything.
right,
Sorry.
right.
This is of course my personal opinion, but I really like the word methods. I think it's more clear than resources. It's like
I
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
suggestion. I'm just making some notes here. I should actually
Methods or methodologies is also widely used, and I think it really depicts more what you're going to find there than
Mhm.
yeah,
because you did a great job of like grouping all these methodologies, and it's very interesting.
I'm just going to open up a Figma file here and just take some notes because I feel otherwise I'm just going to forget everything. I'm taking notes because I like to remember all of the feedback. We actually already, we have, what we have is a live GitHub page where I get feedback from everyone and I actually share that. I post that public because I want this to continue to be built in public and I want all, you know, feedback to be in public. So I'm going to share this here. This is very messy at the moment, but this is just copy link, and I'm going to say anyone. Let's see. Oh, I'd have to invite you to the page because I'm not on the paid Figma version. Let's see, owner. Okay, so I'm just adding it in here at the moment in this Figma file here. I'm just adding in just from our conversation. Yes, and that's here. So methods, the methods are text heavy. This was one of some feedback that one of you gave. Um,
yeah. As for the text heavy feedback, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's something that we need to live with that, and it's of course if it's text heavy, maybe there's room for shortening that text. I don't know. It's something worth exploring.
yeah, it's my feeling too, to be honest, Ferrero, that it is text heavy. So I do agree with you on this one. I notice that when I tend to sprint with teams, I'm tending to use more templates. So I'm just grabbing the Fig Jam. If the methodology is present in a Fig Jam document, I'll just go in Fig
Right.
Jam and I'll run with them in Fig Jam. Like I won't even take them into the like the
Yeah.
US Research Toolkit.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Like, if like right here, I'm looking at, for instance, the competitive analysis, and you have Figma file link there. I think for making it less text heavy, you could even embed the file instead of like just linking to it. So embedding the file on the page so that you can kind of see a preview and something more visual. And something else is that if you're like, there are a lot of templates already in Miro or in Mural
Mm-hmm.
or in Jam. So maybe even like embedding some of those as examples or as like starting points,
Yeah.
I think would be very valuable for the person consuming this, and at the same time interesting to the eye, right? An eye candy, as they call it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It helps break the content.
So
Um,
instead of resources, calling resources methods. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then I'm also going to add in the other suggestion by Ferrero to run some user tests on developers. Okay. Mm-hmm.
what else? Oh, I lost. And something that I really like about Bitcoin Design website,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
left navigation that you have, where you can see everything at once. You know, you can explore right in the page that you are, and
Mm.
uh, uh, opening and closing those drop downs. And
Mm.
that's very, very good for discoverability, and of course usability, but and on
Hmm.
how to, maybe this is a more tricky one because you already built this using frame, I think it's framer,
It is Framer.
and it's not that easy to change, but maybe I think it was worth mentioning that um, maybe that's not the exact approach that we should take,
Mm-hmm.
but improving the discoverability of other items without having to go back and forth in pages
I
uh,
like that.
meant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because when I'm exploring the Bitcoin design page, it's like I'm poking around every item and seeing, oh, this is interesting, and oh, this is too complex for me. I don't like this or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very easy for me to go and explore all the different sections, and I felt like the toolkit it's lacking that feature.
This sort of discoverability, like it doesn't, it feels like when you're on one page, like you're on that page, but you don't have that poking ability, like poke around.
Yeah, because
Right.
maybe you're inside rapid prototyping, but you're not that sure what rapid prototyping is, and it's, oh, it wasn't this, and you start, like playing around with the site and exploring and seeing, oh, maybe I can start introducing this one, or
Hmm.
this one is not for my project, whatever. Um, yeah, I think that could be an improvement.
You guys are right. So I built the website myself and I make all the iterations, and I'm a well, I can write basic HTML, but I'm not a coder. So I built it in Framer and I found this framework and I was like, let's go. It's super easy. But Framer has its limitations because you don't have this ability to add in the menus and as you wish. But if you guys are familiar with any other non-code frameworks which would allow me to create such a menu, I'm totally open to that. Totally open to looking at that.
Honestly, I should explore that because I'm not very familiar with front end design or yeah
Yeah,
different frameworks.
yeah,
And I'm aware that Framer maybe it's more for websites, for products or services, uses stuff. And this is more like a guide or a knowledge base.
yeah.
I don't know what Christopher used for Bitcoin design. Maybe we can ask him.
Yeah, that's code. Like that's at the code level,
Oh,
basically. So if we wanted to move the UX Research Toolkit into actual code, then we'd have to go into that route. I'm not keen on doing that, to be honest.
don't worry. Let's find an easier solution.
We need to find. I'm sure that there are other options. I'm sure that there are. My question for you both, you've both been working, so if you've been working in agencies, the agency mindset, as far as I understand, is you're sprinting with one project, you finish it, wrap it up, you sprint with another, you wrap it up. Um, so you have a design, a redesign of something that lands on your table, and you have to finish it in 2 weeks. As a UX designer, how are you making the decision as to which research methodology to use? You just have a couple of methodologies. You're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is it. It's rapid prototyping, or it's usability testing, or it's user journey mapping, or is it just? Do you kind of have your favorite five? I'm starting to notice that personally, to be honest. We have about 11 methodologies in the UX Research Toolkit. I'm basically using jobs to be done, usability testing, rapid prototyping. Um,
Absolutely.
those are
Those
sort of
three
the top
today.
three. These are the top three.
Yeah. Those three that you mentioned are the ones that I use the most.
Yeah.
Um, and that's interesting because maybe it's the words like putting those at the top because are
Hmm.
the ones that are maybe easier or that provide the most more value. I don't know. It's an idea. I really like that you put the extension like 10 minutes, 2 days, 5 days.
Hmm.
That's very good
That's
because
very cool.
seems that okay, this is going to take me a while. This I can do this today, whatever. And as for the time frame question that you made, sometimes you adapt the methodology that you're using, and maybe you don't have time to do seven or to coordinate seven usability testings, and you do like and we do like this
Hmm.
guerrilla testing. And inside of the agency, it's like, okay, I have this methodology, but I have to adapt that to what I need to solve by, I don't know, today, tomorrow, whatever.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. One thing
yeah,
that I also do is like
flexibility.
I like. Oh, sorry.
No, I just wanted to say that flexibility is very important in,
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah,
or to
totally.
state that these methods are like a rounded layer, but feel free to adapt those to your needs, that being time, budget, or whatever. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Um, the ones that I use constantly are jobs to be done. Some competitive analysis at the beginning, of
Hmm.
course, and then some rapid prototyping, because like rapid prototyping and also iterative testing, I use it a lot because like rapid prototyping together with the iterative testing allows us to do what just Lauti was saying, right? So um, if you like you build some prototype, let's say you have two versions of a prototype and then test it with a couple of people, and then these people give you feedback that are very interesting and it makes sense, then
Hmm.
you iterate very quickly, and then next day or sorry, yes, and you iterate it in just a couple of days or hours. You iterate it and then test it with other people or with the same people to
Yeah.
see if that makes sense to the feedback that they gave. I think that's one of the best things of doing this way. However, like I think there are other methods that we can do, but are like quite long.
Hmm.
And particularly here in the agency, we have dedicated resources that are only doing research.
Hmm.
So they would do these longer stages of research for particular stuff that need to be like researched in depth.
Yeah.
But as designers, like I think there's a difference there where like on the methodologies that you're going to use if you're a designer versus if you're a researcher.
Right.
So I think this is something that also could be outlined in your website, like separating them out, like or having two filters or something like that, where you can say I'm a researcher or I'm a designer, and then have these like main methodologies based on what role you play.
Right. Right. I like that idea. I do like that idea.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I'm not saying that the filter should like remove the others, but just like sort them in different order, because that's probably what will happen. Like if you're a designer, you're probably not going to go too deep on personas analysis or something like that.
Right. And I just want to just come back to the top three. What were the top three for you, Ferrero, that you said that you use on repeat? I'm making
uh,
notes here.
yeah, for my three to go are jobs to be done, rapid prototyping, and doing test and testing those prototype. I mean, oh, so usability testing. Looking at the toolkit website, are the three at the second row are the three that I use the most.
The second row in the
As
resource.
Mariano was saying, in the agency there are two colleagues that focused only on doing research, so longer research go to them.
Jobs to be done
Um,
is a favorite. I see that. And then you mentioned competitive analysis. Yeah, I'm a fan of competitive analysis as well, especially when you're beginning and kicking something off. Okay, so we have here a summary: jobs to be done, rapid prototyping, usability testing, and competitive analysis. So,
my
cheers. All right. So this is good. This is a good discussion, and you jumped off at the right time because I'd actually like to jump now into. I think for the second half of the call, we can focus on the content And
Sure.
I think what's making a lot of sense to me right now is if we have these, let's call them top three or top four. It doesn't have to be top
Yeah.
three, but um, if we have these top three or top four methodologies, it would make the most sense to really make these methodologies content really cracking, like really good. Um, because if they're going to be the most highly used, it just makes the most sense to make them the best,
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
right? So it
It's
makes
a
a lot of
smart
sense.
use of resources. Yeah.
It just makes a lot of sense to make to improve the content on rapid prototyping, and then also look to improving the content. I fully agree with you. Jobs to be done, I've used many times now. Usability testing as well. Competitive analysis I've used also a few times. But for me, the top three is definitely jobs to be done, rapid prototyping, and usability testing. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
those ideas. And I also would like to show you, because I'm actually documenting all changes to the UX Research Toolkit are being documented in public. So I'm going to share this tab instead. This is in the Meta repo where I have here research. So here we're documenting everything. So when there's changes made on the kit, I just created this. I kicked it off on the 31st of March. I just said the introduction to the kit, goal, target audience, um, and then any feedback which we get. So we got some feedback from Sven from the open source community. I have this feedback saved here. He's also an experienced UX designer. And I now updated um, the toolkit with this most recently. So it's being built in public. So we have this record of any changes that are being made to the kit, because I do find it very interesting how a product changes over time. Uh,
That's
the
very cool.
journey of the product. So it's here. This is I'll share this link as well here. Cool. So if we hop in Ferrero, I'm going to share the Google document which you already have. Um,
Yeah. I'm there. I'm
yeah.
there in the file.
So I'm going to share this just here. Do you want to maybe talk through, because full transparency, I haven't had much time to read through much of the suggestions you made. So maybe if you just want to talk through them, and then we can move forward from there.
Sure. Well, apart from the small things that I would say, like, I don't know, removing certain words or rearranging the content to make it um, to make more sense in the way you tell the story. What I felt that was missing from the point of view of someone that is not used to these methodologies
Mm-hmm.
was, okay, am I going to iterate forever? I was in the shoes of a developer, someone that is not used to this, and
Yeah.
maybe that question was not answered so far. So that's what I suggested, like, that it's called, and this is just a suggestion, that it's called when to move to development, or when I
I
should
like that.
start
Mm-hmm.
iterating, when I should stop. Sorry, when I should stop iterating, and provide some guidance of when. Okay, yes, constant iteration is good, but at some point you need to launch your product. We get that. And so if you can answer these three main ideas, that are functional validation, technical feasibility, and risk assessment, I
Mm-hmm.
think if you can answer positively to those three, you're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
um, so yeah, that's basically the suggestion that I made to this section. Apart from that, I made a few um, tweaks to the content. Maybe there was a paragraph here that I felt that were more like closing words instead of another bullet point.
Mm-hmm.
But uh, yeah, that's mostly it. Apart from that, I think that the content is spot on. So I don't feel like it needs much, or any other type of modification.
Yeah. 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 No,
I
this
don't
is
know how.
great. I think this answers a question, because if you're, as you say, if you're new to rapid prototyping and you land on this page, you might just think that you're going to be iterating forever. But this is a good question here. I think like here it's kind of like we're telling them to stop after 3 or 4 iterations,
Yeah.
but you can also decide to move to development here, after you iterate one time because it's good to go. But maybe you only decide here, or maybe you decide, just after V2 or V3. So you can move at different points to development. You don't have to do 4 iterations. Um, so I think that's a good
Yeah,
question.
that's a good point. Maybe that graphic um, could be improved
Yeah.
and add a bit of clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
if you can add that as a note, I could take on that task.
Yeah, let me add this as a note here. Okay, improve graphics. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Now that you mention, I see it. It's like maybe someone think that's a B4 is all they need, and it's not like you can do this forever, or you can go back and stop at B2.
Yeah, exactly. And V, you've just joined the call. Thank you so much for joining. Do you want to say hi?
Yeah, sure. I have been joining this like for uh, after a long time.
You're most
Yeah,
welcome. Whereas you are familiar with the toolkit, right?
With what?
The
Sorry.
UX research toolkit.
Yeah, little bit.
Yeah, we're basically discussing future iterations to the toolkit.
Okay, but
So I'm
I'm
not
not
going to
familiar
do.
with the project.
Yeah. Let me share you with you because Ferrero has already heard his first and his second introduction, and otherwise it's going to be his third introduction to the toolkit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the link to the GitHub um,
Sure.
repo. Well, just a link to the GitHub issue, and you can read over there. Just a quick introduction. Here you go. Here, and I'll drop the link in here. I don't want to put Ferrero through a third introduction. Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
All right. So Ferrero, I think it's a good idea to change this graphic, and maybe something in this graphic could also include this thing about reminding them when to move into development. I'll leave that for you to think about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just go wild. Like do whatever you think looks good. Yeah, but I think next steps in terms of this content is I'll hop into the Google Doc as well, and I'll just have a look at some of the conversations that you guys have had. You'll then sort of dive into the graphic, um,
Sure.
and then we can basically, once we're in agreement that this content is fine, we push it to the live website here. Um, but I would also like to start thinking about the other suggestions that both of you made. The suggestion on testing it out on other people and improving discoverability of the methodology. I like the
In in my
method.
opinion, if possible, we should start with the testing because all
Yes,
the other feedback was provided by us designers.
exactly,
So
exactly,
we are in a loop if we continue. Uh,
exactly.
so yeah, I will start with testing and validate our guessing because
Yeah, these are hypotheses at the moment.
yeah,
Yeah,
designers hypothesis that's
these
very
are
important.
hypotheses from designers. I think that's a good idea. I mean, we can. I think we need to be clear as to what's the goal of the testing. What do we want to, what is the goal of actually testing it? I think we need to think a little bit more about that before we start running with some tests. We can keep it
Absolutely.
hyper focused. We can just focus on the homepage. Um, we don't have to even go into the other pages because it almost feels like the homepage is like the main navigation going into everything.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely.
it's like if we just get them into the homepage and then just say I feel like we need to give them a task, like there needs to be a scenario based testing. Um, you know.
Yeah, but you can also start like some sort of questionnaire where you ask them, yeah, do you, in your everyday life, do you feel like this is something you need, or have you looked for some resources like this before?
Right.
Because this could be like a harsh truth, but maybe developers don't care about this, and
Yeah.
that would be terrible. I know, but it will
Right.
be the truth.
Yeah.
No, I'm not seeing myself doing this. I don't know. You can find a lot of insights. That's why I was suggesting like starting doing that. Um, but yeah, I agree that we should first like state and write down what are we going to test, what do we want to find out first
Yes.
before jumping to doing testing. But that's that's like a cool task that we can start tackling.
What do we want to find out by testing? Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I will kick off like a Google document, and we can just start throwing things in the Google document, like anything that comes to your mind, in terms of what do you think we should try to identify through testing. Just like brain dump everything, and then
Sure.
I'll brain dump, you brain dump. Our brain dumps will meet each other somewhere in the middle, and then that will be the goal. And then it's basically just getting in front of five people. Um, I think this is a good idea. I think it's the toolkit's been around long enough now to have another round of iterations.
Great, great, good stuff.
Okay, cool. And V, was that is sufficient for you to kind of read through and get a feel of what the project's about?
Yeah, I just read the introduction and I got quite a picture.
Cool, cool. So yeah, we're thinking of. I agree with Ferrero. I think we need to show the toolkit to some developers, and I think that we should also. And I think showing it to developers is very important because what I'm noticing a lot in the builders community is that there's often a very small team, and basically the developer is the front end designer, is the UX designer, and the researcher.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's true. Like
that's
my
the
friend
person
is
that
working
we
on
need
it.
to find in the team. We basically need to get a hold of these people.
I think that um, for answering the user testing goals that we are looking for,
Yeah.
um, you already have a piece of that here in the project goals description. I'm looking at the GitHub. And you say we will know if the UX research toolkit is successful if the following conditions are met.
Mm-hmm.
Toolkit users with no knowledge can independently select and implement UX research, etc., etc. Those three items, I think, are very good because it already tells us what is the main goal of the user research toolkit,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
we have a nice space there.
I like this. Okay, this is going into the Google document. So I've added it in here. So I will kick off a Google document, Google Doc with these. Okay, cool. So basically we want to identify, you know, yeah, basically if they're landing on the home page and we're getting a lot of questions, then it means that it's not met its goal. If they're able to select a method without too much of, okay, yeah, this is a good one.
You were using the word methods already.
I'm using the word methods. Yeah, I'm using the word methods exactly. It is a method. I have no idea how we ended up calling it resources anyway.
uh, those
I have
kind
no
of things.
idea. I have no idea. V, is there anything you would like to add or contribute?
Um, like I have very little knowledge about what is the project, so I'm just guessing things around. Like I know that many developers don't really care about the UI part or UX part. Like I have developer friends like that, so yeah. So I just read that it's for someone who has minimal knowledge or knowledge at all for UX.
Yeah.
So, how exactly are we like serving them, or how will they know that okay, we should do this, and it will be good for the for our project?
Right. I want to wrap it up with very clear next steps. So next steps is going to be kicking off a Google document with usability testing goals. The second step is I'm just going to write Ferrero. I spelled your name wrong. I know I spelled your name wrong.
E.
FE. There we go. Is that good?
No, you're missing an R. After the Y, there is a R.
Right. Got you.
Great.
Ferrero design idea rapid prototyping and Mo is review content rapid prototyping doc. Cool. That's clear. Okay. Does that
Awesome.
sound good as the next steps? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I like it. We've got some hypotheses here at the moment, which both of you shared. There's a lot of hypotheses that the navigation, possibly adding in two filters, also that it's text heavy. Let's call these hypotheses at this stage.
Yeah.
And I think once we move on to testing, we will know if these hypotheses are true. Um, maybe a future iteration of the kit is like basically you just have like a Figma file, like there's not that much of reading. Like basically this is just converted into a FigJam file. Could be. I do actually have a Figma file for research on Figma community, and I have noticed that that's been duplicated a few times. I think in terms
Oh,
of discoverability, if you have something in Figma community, people are more likely to use it as well.
okay.
Um,
Okay. Good to
it is
know.
it is just something that I notice. I feel like with the research toolkit living in the website only, I feel like people are needing to first have awareness that this even exists before
Yeah.
they. Whereas a UX designer will just go quickly in Figma community to do that. Okay, got you. Like run with it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, that's something that happened to me. Like I had a hard time finding this website. Um, so I searched for in Bitcoin design and on Discord, but I think that's something that's going to be improved as we iterate and start giving a better shape to this complete to the whole project.
yeah.
Um, I wouldn't be too worried about that. It's going to unwrap by itself.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, in terms of this, if we discover through the usability testing that indeed the pages are copy heavy, which is my hypothesis at the moment as well, then we can think about moving maybe even just the top three into FigJam templates, if it's possible. I wouldn't know how you would move rapid prototyping into FigJam. That's something I'd be,
Yeah,
you know,
but visual examples are always useful. It's
exactly.
easier to to consume by the eye by looking at images than reading text, or both.
Fully agree
Or
with you. Fully agree with you. So for example, something like the rapid prototyping could be a FigJam template, and then you're just going to show the first iteration, you're going to show the second iteration, a little bit of copy, reasoning behind it, what was done. You're just showing visual examples, and you're saying,
Yeah,
this is how you do it. That's it.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
You're showing, you're not writing, you know. Yeah. Cool. I mean, I'm happy to wrap it up if you guys are, or if you would like, if you
Yeah,
have anything to add. I'd love to, once we've kind of ironed things out a bit more, I'd love to have another call once we've moved things forward a bit more.
yeah, yeah, totally.
Would be amazing.
Uh, this has been great. Good stuff.
Did you like it?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
That's
I'm always,
let us came up. So that's the main point.
yeah, and I like it, Ferrero, your suggestion of let's not jump to making changes straight away. Let's first go to the users. Like, because it's very easy to now iterate on the kit based on what you said and based on what I forget his name,
Mariano.
Moreno also said, but we shouldn't do that. It's not the right way to go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I
Well,
will end the call then. I'll
yeah,
end the recording. 1 second. I will stop the recording.